She ain't gave me the green light. Now it's time to take flight. Let's go. Go, go.
Cause I'm out the ordinary. 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 Out the ordinary.
Welcome to SOULutions. When men come out the shadows to testify, giving tips in manhood, honor the codes of integrity, and give out real solutions for soul survival. Today, we have on the show a true philosopher, a cerebral fortified mind of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, an author, a truth teller, a truth seeker, and a vocal historian. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Keenan Booker. How you doing today, sir?
All right. Online, I'm known as TheGod720, but yeah, you know, either name, it works. Keep going.
We'll go by TheGod720, Mr. Booker. I got you. Mr. 720, I got you for sure. Are you ready for your first questions? Answer these questions today.
Yeah, let's do it, man. Come on, man. Let's do it. I'm in Target. Shoot at me. Come on.
Let's do it. What person did you meet or see that gave you the drive towards the man you are today? Who or what defined you?
I wouldn't say it was a person, it was the lack thereof. Okay. So I never really had a role model. I can't say I've had a role model. I don't think in that mind frame. You know, I'm more of a person of, I like what your work is. Your work is awesome. I don't really fall into a whole thing of I need to copy this type of person or be this type of way. The whole thing is that society has a multitude of problems, and, you know, men, fathers, we find solutions to problems and we apply them. So that's what my whole premise is with the books I've written or even the music I do. You know, I find solutions to problems, you know.
So that kaleidoscope that you have that brings all these arrays and lights and assortments to bring together your mind, you feel you got pieces from all over that weren't mentors, but it's just pieces from things and challenges you found in your life.
Right. And being in a lot of locations, being in a lot of different locations across America and actually living there, not, you know, just visiting. As you know, living in Dubai is completely different.
Yes.
Than visiting there. You know what I'm saying? So I've lived in a lot of different places. I've seen a lot of different things, and just the way we carried ourselves as black males and also the way the world reads us was not up to my par. Okay. And I'm not going to put myself in a situation to make you look bad, you know, and you're all the way in Dubai, but we don't, you know, black males don't really have a recognition towards the fact that your activity reflects upon the image of all of us, you know. So that's really the area I work by right there, is that the fact that your individual, you know, activity reflects upon all of us. When you leave your home, you automatically represent your age, you represent your race, you represent your gender, whether you like it or not, with all the activities that you commit in public. And whatever, you know, conclusions come from that, or whatever people, you know, you know, bring up in their mind from the results of what you're doing, they apply to everybody. It's just how things work like that. But go ahead.
No, for sure. I understand what you're saying wholeheartedly. Tell me, with your travels, was there a basic level of communication that you found through most men, even though we're not living up to the higher standards of best representation? Was there a basic level of communication that we can all carry to say, this is our standard, we all know about this?
There was at one time. And right, you already know where I'm going. There was at one time in the 80s, in the 90s, and everything before the 90s, we had more of a unified operation. We had a stronger telepathy when we traveled to different locations in America. But then during the 2000s and on, that sort of like melted and broke away during the whole Obama season and the whole thing was doing in the media sort of extracted slowly but surely that telepathic unison that we had amongst each other, you know. So yeah.
We're definitely having a little bit of technical difficulties of you fading in and out right now, and I hope you can hear me. The screen froze up a little bit. I heard everything you said. So it seems that we had another warfare, another war that was upon us that we weren't ready for, going back to dropping guns and drugs in our neighborhoods and turning our women against us on certain levels. Now we had to deal with the level of integrity and respect going away. Where were you when you started to notice this basic communication fail?
I was living in Atlanta, and what happened with me is when they started introducing new things into our socialism, like metrosexual, or when the Laffy Taffy rap songs were coming out and they were starting to bring in more social propaganda and social engineering of homosexuality in movies. Like it was random stuff, you know, random jokes and stuff that was in movies, and then it started ballooning and get to a larger status. You know, that's music, movies, all of that. I cut it all off back in like 2000, 2001.
Yeah, you're talking about the spirit of recruitment. It could be definitely something that can get inside your cerebral and you start doing things you don't even know that you had access to. One of the best ways that I was able to move forward in life was affirmations. Do you have any affirmations that you use or any mantras that you help stick to your mind to keep you focused this long?
Yeah, I have an affirmation. I don't know if you want to hear it, but
we are here to learn from you,
it's a
sir.
little magical button. It's a magic button I carry in my wallet. I've been lied to enough by humans to just write them all off, unfortunately. But that's just this. When you're by yourself and you going up against the world by yourself, in order to survive. Okay, so after you've been around so many different cultures and you've been around so many different religions, you've sat with so many different ceremonies of different people, and you see that they're liars, and the lying is something that is allowed. But when you're by yourself in the world and you don't have nobody to have your back or whatever the case may be, because even the people that say they have your back could be lying. And then when the situation gets thick or whatever, nobody's picking up the phone. So it's better for me to just go ahead and say, you know what? You humans, you like to lie to each other. You think that shit is permissive. So I just write you all off. You know, it's all a write-off. You know, whatever comes through, comes through. But whatever you got blabbling out of your face, I'm not believing it. You're a dumbass, you know? And that's just where it is. I mean, look at what we're dealing with. You know, people don't know where their stomach is located in their body. They don't know how many columns they have in their spine. They don't know, you know, a million things about their own body or about how they operate day to day. But I'm supposed to respect you on the level of you're a Kim Kardashian or you're some type of royalty. And that's what people impose upon you, that I want you to look at me in this light, but they don't have nothing to prove themselves in that light, you see? And then due to the fact that the literature I've written and my scholastic level, and it was all done off of self-education, it fell into a safe mode. That is a protection device that I use not only for my own sanctity, but I know, you know, what your capabilities are. And 9 times out of 10, you're going to lie, you know? And I mean, I live in Las Vegas, so a lot of people depend on, you know, oh, look at my Instagram, and oh, I got the cameo with this person, and I took the picture with this person, and I'm aligned to this famous person. Like,
I think there are so many things that you said. I would like to go and revisit some of it. And first, I want to start with. First, I want to start with the separation from the hive mind. How you were able to matriculate your own personal knowledge into being a person of understanding through education and what the ancestors left. But I know for sure, from my own understanding, that is a lonely place. But first, you have to adapt to the dark and adapt to being away from. Because we're human beings. I understand that we do lie. I do agree with you. But there's also a level of we need each other. We need that touch, that intimacy to be around each other. How were you able to function yourself through education of growth, being away from everyone in that magnitude? What did it take for you?
Well, while I was writing these books and also putting out these albums, I got 12 albums out. I had a woman in my house, and I had, 2 sons, and I was maintaining the home and all of that. So, I did have a woman, but, she did a lot of lying too. So, things may collapse. But when I was around 17 years old, I already cut humans off, bro. I cut the trustworthiness off. I cut my parents off. I just looked at them like, okay, you just here for money and clothing for the time being, but besides that, I can't rely on you.
It sounds like you have a certain level of genius, and it separates you from the fray. You say you noticed that between 7 and 10. What is that thought process? What is that giving you? What type of great things that had birth for you?
Well, I mean, my parents were, Christian oriented and whatnot, and I would ask them the questions about religion, and they couldn't give me full answers. Or they couldn't give me, the answers. But here you are making sure I'm so involved into a system that you don't even know what it is, and that made me lose a lot of respect. That made me lose a lot of, a lot of respect, just not only for my parents, but adults overall, because I saw a multitude of adults shoving their children into this Christianity thing. And those same adults of ours now are over here supporting the LGBTQ. So, it's, what do you say to that?
I think it's consistent with your mind frame, what you said, that people don't know the amount of vertebrae they have in their back and where their stomach is located. I think what I was getting to is this basic level of knowledge that I can honestly say that most of us do not have it. And that should be an issue, that we don't know body. We don't know body parts. We don't know history. We don't know how we can get together and magnify our existence and scale. Tell me, what is renowned about you?
So you said something about being renowned. What do you mean?
Yeah, what is renowned about you? What is, with a full circumference, what do you think is who you are as in totality? Like, what do you think you've worked on, the sum of you right now? That you think that you like mastered this level, like I've accumulated all this knowledge. This is who I am.
Well, I'm a medievalist for sure. I wrote a 3-volume series on medieval Europe, and this is how big the book is. This is just the second volume. This is the first volume right here. And then the third volume is I got the third volume right here. And that's black. Let me show you.
Let's break this down. Let's get into this. For those who are actually listening and can't see, let's break down what a medievalist is, and let's talk about your books.
Okay. Well, what is a medieval facet of what was occurring during that time, which is the origin of civilization.
Still having trouble with your sound here, sir.
And the origins of Western civilization, and knowing that you were saying something?
Yes, the sound keeps going in and out every time you start to speak. I'm not sure why it's doing that. Let me look around. Don't have any issues with any of the audio.
Yeah, there's some crazy weather on the planet right now.
So, yes, absolutely. Yes, it's a lot of flash flood warnings, even for in the Bronx, which is
right in the Bronx. Yeah, I was just on the phone with my homie in the Queens, and it's about to be raining there crazy. It was wind. It's heavy winds out here right now.
Yeah.
You know, the earthquake, 2 earthquakes happened off of the coast of Russia.
Yes.
You know, and then you got the Ring of Fire volcanoes acting up. So, you know,
So it's
yeah.
So it could be a little bit of that going on. But let's fight our way through it. Please continue about your medievalist.
Well, it's funny we even started talking about the weather because the first chapter in the Kicked Out of Heaven goes over 1,000 years of natural disasters that occurred in old Europe that nobody really knows about, which sort of shaped the mind and the behaviors of Europeans and how they interact with the planet, you know, and how they see things pertaining to security and also survival. So they were enforced into with a lot of floods that occurred. They were enforced into a lot of famines that occurred, a lot of cannibalism to survive. So, you know, like a lot of people today want to say, oh, Europeans are cannibals, Europeans are cannibals. And that's not really what they're looking at. What you're looking at is a system of they had to partake in cannibalism to survive so many times that it became ritualistic and ceremonial because it was the cannibalism that allowed them to survive. So in times going on, it was sort of celebrated because this is what allowed us to survive. Does that make sense?
We all will be practicing. The proof is in the pudding. That's what you're trying to say.
Right. So basically what I'm saying is that if you were famished and didn't eat for days and you ran into a tree of bananas and those bananas helped you survive, but this happened to your culture and to your people in the same location every 50 years, you go through this, okay? By time 500 years go by, it is now ceremonial and you're praising the banana because there's been so many different situations in which the banana helped you survive. You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
So people don't know that it's actually built into their dynamic like that. And I don't want to say it like that because of the way the human mind thinks in a macro scenario. So when I'm explaining this, they'll put it in their brain that, oh, all of them are like that. No, it's not all of them. It's just that that's what happened during the course over time. So it falls into its proper places. And people got to understand that a race is militarized, right? So the Navy doesn't do what the Army does. The Army doesn't know what the Marines are doing, okay? The Air Force does not communicate with the Army or the Navy or the Marines for none of them to know what the Air Force is doing. You see what I'm saying? So there's a lot of different moving pieces that all work in synchronicity with each other when it comes to, you know, how Europeans operate. And I had to take on that information to find out what's really going on because, you know, they left Europe and kicked the world's ass, you know, and nobody else on the planet has done that. So we need to understand the way you're thinking that allowed you to do that. You see what I'm saying? Because nobody else did. But go ahead.
Mentality. The mentality to know to do that. You're reverse engineering to find out what's the substance, what's the solution. I like to hear about stuff like that. Mm-hmm. How early did you start goal setting? You said 7 to 10, you recognize your parents, but how early did you start goal setting?
Goal setting. That when I was young, kicking it around hood niggas and listening to rap, you know. When you get hit, you already know. Oh, what nigga, you ain't get no pussy yet. Ha ha, you know, nigga, you better go out there and get, you know, oh shit, I gotta get on the mission, gotta goddamn swindle, gotta do what I gotta do. Oh, nigga, you ain't making no money. Oh, nigga, you ain't got on no Jordans, nigga. Oh, nigga, you ain't got on no polo, nigga. You already know what it was. You know what I'm saying? So those were things that kicked up the engine for goal setting. But then, you know, I had to survive. And then I had been through so many different forms of making money and hustling that when I was about to go ahead and launch myself into the rap game, I looked at the business structure, and the business structure clearly states that this is not business. Okay. So because business structure is easy. Look at what we're doing right now. We turn on the camera, we have a conversation, we have people who like the conversation, they pay for the conversation. Boom, 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 boom. Easy system. Okay. You cannot tell me how to get into the rap game. There is no system of that, So I had just got done doing a lot of other wild stuff. So I said, let me write a book. And I guess that's where that whole engine of goal setting started back up. And I said, I got to finish this book, So I wrote my first book, which is called The Black Man's Bible. I got a copy of it right here. Right here. This is The Black Man's Bible. This is my first book. That's my real mom and dad on the cover. That's me sitting on the wheel right there.
That's very, very cool.
So, right, this is my first book, and it comes with my first album. Okay, let me show you the cover to that. The Negro and Beast are in the image of God, which is actually a cover to another book that came out in the 1900s. So I said to myself, man, let me go ahead and add the album to the book. And when I did that, my launching of the product didn't come out right because my books didn't arrive in time. It was supposed to be during Christmas and all of this other stuff. And I was going to have a big blowout and things got stagnated. So I said, okay. And then a lot of other people started saying, oh, yeah, I'm going to do what he did. So I said, okay, we going to see. And I did it again. And that's when I wrote Real Nigga Etiquette. This one right here. This is Real Nigga Etiquette, okay? This is a small book. So this is sort of like a Proverbs to the Black Man's Bible.
Okay, hold on one second. Let's talk about the Black Man's Bible. If you can give us give us two things out of that book that you think is prevalent today that we need to have with us at all times.
Black men are underneath attack by everybody. That's black women, white males, white females, white Hispanic women. It doesn't matter. Everybody looks at us as some form of cannon fodder or some form of we can abuse, use, point the finger at, laughter, you're a joke, you're on stage, tap dance for me and all of that. So that book is written in a format so you have that recognition. Because a lot of black males, they don't even have that recognition in their mind of what's going on in their environment and how their environment perceives them, for number one. For number two, there's a lot of new subjects introduced through that material for mental expansion. So, for instance, I put how to go about a pregnancy, and I delivered my second son in my home, and all of the details for that is inside that literature.
That's outstanding. That's outstanding. Did you have a midwife?
No.
Oh, you did it solo dolo. I like to hear about this.
Yeah, I did it solo, and I ordered everything to do it off of Amazon, brother. And I studied to do it,
I'm a proponent of person studying to figure out how to do things. I think we lost that skill trait where we actually go look it up or actually add it to our belt, so to speak.
Right.
Add it to our tool belt. So here we are. You've learning from different people, learning from hood dudes, learning from the streets. You're also learning from your parents. You're developing yourself. You knew that your parents were there for this particular situation. You're going through life. You're writing books. You're understanding what these slip and falls have. You have a woman that was there for you, may not be there for you now. You're growing and developing into this person. Through it all, what did you sacrifice?
My privacy, I guess. I like to consider myself a private person, but due to the fact that I've been online running my mouth and I got my whole life, and the Black Man's Bible is sideways an autobiography / self-help book. So, I got my whole life in expose. So I basically sacrificed myself. I have no privacy or anything of that nature. you know.
Would you say that's one of your duties in life, to actually be a sacrificial lamb, to make sure that we have a certain level of etiquette as we move forward?
To be my goal in life is to get paid. I'm trying to get to Dubai, brother, where you're at. Okay. I'm trying. Balling. I'm trying to ball, nigga. You understand? I went down that route because basically, you're making us look bad. Gilbert Arenas and what's going on with him right now. You seen that?
Yes.
And here you are, a millionaire, but you still have this genetic code where you have to be the OG and you got to have the mansion, and we playing poker and got the naked girls walking around. And dog, you're already a millionaire legally. What do you need to partake in all this dumbass activity for? You see what I'm saying? So it's situations like that that make me and you look bad. You see?
I think, you know what? I'm going to push back against that a little bit. Let me tell you why. I agree with you, but I also think there's proponents and system in place to make sure that we don't have an opportunity just to exist. Like when you start to deal with that kind of money and people, and you got friends that make that kind of money, then security is involved. When security is involved, then you might have some single friends, then girls are involved. This is just a regular night with regular people having people fun at their house. But because it might be 20 people bringing $25,000 over each, now you got $500,000 in cash sitting around prone for a robbery. So you have to take all these precautions and put things in place. And now you got security, you got girls, you got food, you got drinks, you got food, you got a party, you got somebody invite their cousin over. And all of a sudden it looks like a gambling rink when it's just a group of people who is probably as lonely as most people who have a lot of money, who can't really have a public life having a private event.
Bro, he had custom-made poker tables with his name on them.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that.
No. I like how you did that. I like how you brought the lawyer to the game right there. You brought the lawyer to the stand right there.
There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with that. Which is
name written on the tables. So it's in all of us. Dog. How many basketball players and football players got to drop a big state, bro? Like, come on, bro.
Let's talk about that. I think in reality, when I look at people who are specializing in certain things, they miss out on character development. So they only know what they know. This is why they're the biggest targets for certain things that we growing up in. Well, if you grew up in certain situations where you've learned the testaments of characters of people, then you understand that. But most times, people who grow up in those situations don't actually get the money to go with it. It's always people who have a skill trait, who are born with certain abilities to move forward, to grow the propaganda, to grow the agenda. Those people are not taught nuance, so the same deliverance works for them when it comes to chopping down the tree. And I think I understand, and I believe that's what's the case with many of our military, many of our sports players, many of people who are just directly skill traded down to one thing, and they have not had any character development. So I can't fault them all the time for falling in those Super Mario Brother tubes that ported them straight somewhere else.
Correct. You're 1,000% correct, because you know what you're saying. What you're saying bounces over to what happened with the CEO that got caught kissing the girl at the Coldplay concert. It's the same thing. You didn't have enough experience as a child, which in essence is character development, to know the ins and outs of these scenarios. So then as an adult, you still have this box in your brain that's pressurized of all these experiences and all this stuff you want to do, and you need to get it out of your system. And then you get it out of your system at 40, 45 years old, and your ass end up in the jail.
Well, I see, but the CEO, I think that's a whole different situation with men who actually make that type of money. I believe, you know, I kind of come to an understanding. I hate to say I believe, but I come to an understanding that that is a different tax bracket that functions differently.
Right.
It's to a certain understanding where maybe the married couple has an understanding, and being caught is the only reason that it would look bad. If that gentleman wasn't in that suite alone, and that gentleman was in suite with other coworkers, so many people are co-conspirators to this situation. It's hard to keep
When you go deeper,
keep everything negligent of what's really going on and what's really passive aggressive and what's really culminating. I think the real victim of that story is the wife's husband, the gentleman who no one feels sorry for, because his wife is there being held by a man who society ranks making more money and having more stuff makes you a better person or a better man, which is not true, ladies and gentlemen. However, the hive mind feels that way. So he has to deal with that in that situation. And then on a jovial level, to joke about it, maybe their spouses were not fun people. And maybe they just wanted to go to the Coldplay concert and have a good time.
But once again, it goes down to their childhood. They were running around and so busy during their childhood that they didn't have enough experiences with the opposite gender, or with gambling, or with going to concerts, or with doing all of these other things, that those experiences should have been in your system by 25 years old.
Well,
but
okay.
Go ahead.
No, frequencies, right? Let's talk frequencies.
Okay,
Frequencies grow and they develop with different sounds and different things and different traumas. There's a baseline level that everybody has, a beat to your own drum, something that you start off, just the baseline. But then on top of that are different nodes of music that change you throughout the years of your life. And sometimes you meet different people and situations that come right on time with that signature noise. Now, I'm not saying that you should follow that. I'm not saying it's a great tune for you. I'm just saying that human beings connect at certain moments at certain times, and it could be good or bad. I'm not just talking about infidelity. I'm talking about just where you might be down and out, or you might get a job from somebody helping you out. There's so many things that fine tune your frequencies on how you feel about yourself. Like you said, go back to your childhood, how you feel about yourself and what you channel to you. So this is a deep thing that I believe we deal with on a shallow level.
We don't even, if you want to get technical, we don't even recognize it. America is the first country, or Western civilization is the first culture that has no becoming a man or becoming a woman ritual. Okay. And all cultures, when they were divided amongst their own, they had certain practices that were done in order to develop your behavioral and your social system in your mind. Okay. And then you could be prepared for the becoming man or becoming woman ritual. And also so you could get married off, in which all cultures usually married off by 15, 16 years old. Everybody was married off. So, that's from Africa to China to Islam, Turkish. Everybody was operating like that at one time.
So some cultures in Africa have circumcision culture, right? When you get circumcised at a certain age, where you wait till you're 18 to be circumcised, and they use a hot spear to circumcise you. If you don't get circumcised, you're not considered a man. So you can be, let's say someone is 18 years old and someone is 25, and that 25-year-old has never gotten circumcised. He couldn't go through with it. The 18-year-old gets circumcised. That person considered more of a man and older than you now because they went through those rituals. That's what you're talking about. But black people had black Americans have an unwritten ritual, which was not good for us, that we learned was toxic. Hey, when you turn 18, get out of my house. You're a man now. You don't need to be here living with me at 18 years old. We had parents kicking their kids out at 18 years old with nowhere to go, either to the military, to college, or just out, telling them to get a job at 18 because all of a sudden you are a man or a woman. You need to go at 18. So we created some type of rituals with really no backing and really understanding. My question to you is, and this is a deep question, and this is a 3-part question, and if you don't want to answer it, I understand.
No, I'm with you, Q. Shoot it.
What was abusive to you that you thought was love?
Abusive to me that I thought was love? I never really crossed those lines. I've always recognized abuse as abuse and pain is pain and love is love. I've never really confused that area. And once again, this is that question is super loaded pertaining to how one was raised. Okay. I wasn't raised in a ghetto environment. I never lived in an apartment in my life. I wasn't raised by a drunk or mother, or my father was always there. I had a 2-parent household. I wasn't abused. I wasn't verbally abused. I wasn't physically abused. I wasn't neglected. So I don't have those issues. But that question that you asked is very pertinent towards what's going on in the world today, which anybody you're dealing with in the adult realm is the result of their childhood. Okay. So there's been many people that I've loved and they didn't know what that was because of the type of environment that they grew up in, and they fought against it. So I have experienced that coming from other people, but me myself, I can't say there's anything that I took as abuse, but it was love. Okay, so I can't say that.
How did you recognize that you were that fortunate? When did you recognize?
I saw it in my first relationship with the mother of my children, but then in my second relationship, it got very amplified. And basically what we're talking about here is class systems, and you need to stick with your class, okay? And everybody is not of your class. Don't get hoodwinked by beauty. Don't get hoodwinked by, Coca-Cola bottle shape and all of this other nonsense, because we live in a world now where classes aren't identified like they used to be in the old world, and it's a really messed up system. You could be a bloodline of a royal king, which a lot of us, there's still those bloodlines floating around here. We don't know how to identify them because it's been erased from different tribes and all of that other stuff, right? So you could be of the royal and you're working at Walmart and you fall in love with Susie, and Susie has a bloodline of 20 generations of thieves and robbers and drunks, and that is her system. That is what's in her DNA, and that's what's going to play out in her behavior. And you're over here beating yourself upside the head. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? Why can't you do this? Why aren't you treating the kids like this? Why aren't you moving with the kids like this? It's because you have a different genetic code than what she got. Okay. You come from a royal line of, for past 8-10 generations, it's been nothing but doctors and lawyers that have been produced out of your bloodline, And then you're dealing with this girl who come from a bloodline of thieves and murderers and drunks for the past 10 generations. That's where the mess up is. So it definitely got really amplified last relationship I was in. And
how long did it take for you to accept it?
It took me about that relationship lasted for about 8 years. There's the 4-year itch and then the 7-year itch. I never make it past the 7-year itch. So, so yeah.
Should there be a basic training amongst men, a level of education of skill traits like financial literacy, communication, how to change a tire, gardening, general wealth building, camps, stocks, real estate, speaking to the elderly, making sure they're around? Tell me about, what do you think how can we build something like this? Because black men in general, and all men in general, but black men today, you say, are under attack. What is a basic level of communication that can be absolute, that we all should carry?
Okay. You asked 2 questions. So the first question is based upon your innate drive. And this is where we need to go down with things, is what is your nature? Okay. You have a nature in doing things. Now, your nature is also going to be balanced upon your metabolism. So if you as a male don't have a high level of testosterone, you don't have a high level of drive. And you're not going to enforce to get things done. You're not going to try to meet goals. You're not going to try to manipulate. You're not going to try to do what you need to do as a man to survive, to its totality and its extreme. And all of that is based on one chemical, and that chemical is testosterone. Okay. Our communication styles, we have to understand the English language. The English language is about the strongest magic system that you've ever witnessed on this planet. You know, yeah, the English language,
very profound.
And oh yeah, it is the strongest. I'm telling you, I've studied a lot of different magic systems, and the only one that's after the English language, I would have to say the Saints. You know, and then the third layer, I would probably say the subtleness of ancient Egyptian magic, which there are no saints without the ancient Egyptian magic as well. Those two levels are tied, and which the saints are also tied with the English language. So you got to understand that it's all three of those layers are sort of like interwoven with each other, but the finite line is going to be the English language. So we have to understand that there's over 150 different languages interwoven into the English language, and we have to really break down how the English language is structured, and in order for us to communicate better. Because if we're going to get technical, the English language is about maybe 700 to 1,000 years old by minimum. That is a minimum number. Okay. Maximum, it could go further than that, because we're talking about the basis of Greek, Latin, Sanskrit. Okay. And then also German. But then you also have a whole nother layer of gangster language that's intertwined, medieval gangster language and Judaic sciences that are also interwoven into the English language. You see what I'm saying? So we have to understand the English language thoroughly. And the black race, we've only been speaking the English language for maybe what, 150 years? Our linguistic length, or our, vastness of, the expansion of our wordplay is maybe only at about 300 words, maybe 500, maybe 700, but it's not at the other levels, because the English language is broken down in a way where your linguistic usage is going to predicate your intelligence, which also predicates what class you're on. Like we were just talking about the different classes, yes. Right? So if you're over here on the microphone saying, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Feel me, you feel me all the time. We can definitely see that you don't have you don't have expansive linguistics in your usage. So, you're not going to be respected amongst doctors and lawyers and things of that nature. Police, they can immediately hear what class to respect you on by the way you speak to them, and what words you use, So, yeah, we have to understand that the English language is a magic system, and it's going to take a lot, bro. Anything dealing with the black race, whether it be language, clothing styles, development of ceremony, development of a culture, all of us have to be involved at once, at the same time. Right. That's where the eyes get big. Okay. All of us have to be involved in on the science all at the same time. And we have to drag each other through these experiences, together, and there's a lot of experiences that we need to have as African Americans in order to compare ourselves or even compete with the other cultures on the planet, which stem past 1,000, 2,000 years old. How old are the Turks, bro? The Turkish culture is over 1,500, 2,000 years old, bro. Like, what are we talking about here? Like, you're dealing with ancient Egypt, or, the Ethiopian in the Coptic church. That's 5,000 some years old, 7,000 years old. That's how old their culture is. China, China's culture is over 5,000 years old. Bro, African Americans' culture is at 100 years old, bro, if that. And then it's manipulated and controlled by outer forces that we don't even see, recognize, or know who they are.
Hey, I'm listening. I'm learning right now. This is some great information.
You see what I'm saying? So, I mean, there's a whole system within that we need to discover in detail. And until we understand and respect due diligence, it won't be done, bro. It's not going to be done by throwing on a kente cloth hat. It's not going to happen.
All right, let's take it there. Let's dive a little deeper right now. This is where we go really deep into the show. I want to hear about your lowest moment, but I don't want to hear about just your lowest moment. I want to hear that how you got up. This is for the people that might be listening right now who can relate to the words that you're saying that is of high mind with you. Tell us your lowest moment, but how did you get up?
Actually, my lowest moment is in my life is right now, as a matter of fact. And how did I get out of it? I paid my bills. I was just
That's a great way to summarize it.
No. I'm gonna go in on what you're saying, because what you're saying is more emotionally related, right?
Emotional intelligence, yes.
Right, emotional. So we have to understand that emotions are dangerous, and the majority of emotions are negative. Okay, and the answering to emotions end up in murders and domestic violence. Right. So we can't use emotions. You have to use mathematics, because everything is mathematical. So your emotions are tied to and controlled by your finances. All right. I give you $10 million right now, and I come back 2 hours from now. I said, man, there was a mess up in the system, man. I got to get that money back and snatch it back from you. The fangs will show. Your fangs will come down and you will be ready to defend, for your $10 million. You're not going to let $10 million just walk out of your life. A lot of people that break down on their knees and cry. I don't allow, and trust me, and let me say this for anybody that's listening, it takes a lot to get to that point psychologically. It takes a lot to understand the power in money management. It takes a lot to understand that emotions are terrible to operate with. The majority of emotions, like I said earlier, are negative. Crying, depression, sad. You can only name like 5 positive emotions, and I can name 10 negative ones. You see, it doesn't balance out effectively. You see what I'm saying? Responding to these emotions, which usually, when you really get down to what emotions are your feelings based upon your ownership of a thing. Okay? And that is also your mate. All right? The human wants to feel powerful by controlling other humans. The human that controls more humans by default steps out of the space of a human and becomes a god, or a demigod, shall I say. Okay? So this is, when we say Michael Jackson, right? Why does his name still reign? His name reigns because he had influence and power over millions of people all across the planet. You see? So that's what that is. And that's why I don't allow emotional attachment, because people are not linguistically educated on how the European society operates, and especially back to words, because everything has to be identified by a word. So a lot of people don't understand that when you're dealing that every word, especially those words that represent emotions, are they have an engine inside of them. Some of these words are correlated to gods. So, for instance, you have hope, hyper, hip, hop. You have happy. You have happen. The word happy and happen are the same word, right? When something happens, you are to be happy. Okay. You have hypochondriac. You have hemp. You have hip. For twisting your hips, moving your hips around. All of those are euphoric words. And you know what? They have Egyptian God inside that word. There's a lot of other words that are structured like this. You have the word thought, the, think, there, thou. All of those words have the ancient God Thoth inside of them. It goes on and on and on and on and on, bro. So all the gods from the ancient mythology systems are actually hidden inside of English words. When these words are applied or used upon you, especially in the representation of emotions, there is an engine or a behavior that is applied to you, right? So when you call somebody a drunk, you see that? If you call somebody a drunk, there's an engine inside that word that labels that person as a drunk, but the behaviors match because of you can only call a person a drunk based on that person's behavior.
Okay.
Right?
I get it.
Right. So then there's a behavior inside the word that mirrors it. So you can call them a drunk now because it applies. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So, and then drunk, drum, DRU, they make wine and drums, big barrels, which are also called drums. The beating of the drum, the rhythm, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of science to the English wordplay that we don't thoroughly understand yet.
Who do you think created the diagram of it all?
That system? Hold on real quick. Bro, I can't tell you.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this. Which one of your books is the best one for us to grow in communication?
The Kicked Out of Heaven, the 3-volume series on Europe. Europeans took over the world, period. Let's be very clear on that. They kicked everybody's ass, okay? They've done it in several different ways. They've done it by convenience. They've done it monetarily. They did it physically through violence. They did it through hallucinogens and liquors and dopes and all of this. Bro, the people of the planet did not drink alcohol, bro, in the old world. Alcohol was a very ceremonial thing that would only happen maybe once or twice out of the year type of thing. Europeans, they stayed drinking wine. As a matter of fact, when mothers would wean their baby off of breast milk, they went straight to wine. They didn't even drink water because the water had feces particles in it and would create the colic, and you'd get sick and get dysentery.
Which I do understand that. So hold on. I want to thank you for diving deep there and giving us all this knowledge and communication. Let's shake that off real quick. I'm happy that you was able to pay your bills, by the way, and communicate that and articulate. You had that financial literacy to do what you need to do. Financial literacy is important. Now let's get some more of these fun questions. I'm not gonna keep you too much longer, but I want to say I appreciate this conversation and you doing.
No, man. You can take as much. I got all day, man. We can take as much time as possible, but I do want to put in. You can get these books at www.kickedoutofheaven.com.
Oh no, we're gonna talk about all of that shortly. We're gonna get all into that. So I want to ask you a series of questions, and I want you to pick either or and explain why. You only have two choices. It's a fun game I like to play. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
So as a husband, let's put you in the husband seat. Would you rather have a great woman or a great wife?
I would have to say a great woman. Okay. Would you want me to explain?
Yes, please.
I say a great woman because of the ritualistic system of marriage and what that is and where it comes from, which is not necessarily attached to, the Western way of marriage, is not good for us, you know. And there's a lot of things that are said within vows that are octave controlled that doesn't put a relationship in the standpoint of survival means. So I mean, like, it's not going to last long. It's not gonna, last long for longevity. So I have no picture or a concept of what a wife is in my mind, because I understand the linguistic power of, the English language, so I don't play in that realm, basically, is what I'm saying.
Hey, that's your answer. We respect it. You opening up the door so everybody to think some more.
All right.
If they were giving out awards, would you rather have Father of the Year or Man of the Year?
I would rather say Man of the Year, I guess.
Explain.
Man of the Year, because nobody, I mean, you're not going to be able to tell if you've been a good parent until your children can survive in society for at least 10 years without any form of reliance upon you. So you don't even know if you've been a good parent until your child is around 30, 40 years old.
Based on what studies have you assessed this situation? I believe you, but I want to hear give us some facts behind this.
Well, I mean, that is the fact. Well, let's look at nature. Nature raises their cubs to hunt and survive. And just like the birds, you have to get out the nest and fly, and if you can't fly, then I have not done my duty. If you cannot, as the cubs cannot go hunt and can't take down the gazelle, then I have not done my duty in preparing my children to survive in the environment. Now, our environment, of course, is a lot more socially complex than that. And, but we still have to, we're built for that complexity. So you still have to survive. And it's all going to be based on time. You could never tell yourself that you've been a good parent and your child is only 21. They haven't been battle tested. You can only tell if you've been a good parent by your children or by your child or children being battle tested and surviving that test.
That's interesting. And I'm definitely hoping our listeners are hearing that. And there's going to be so many people reflecting who are parents, maybe in their 60s right now, saying, I did a good job or I could have done better.
If your child is still in the home at 40, 50 years old, you did not do a good job. If your child is still at your home and your child produced another child and you have your grandchildren at home as well, you didn't do good by Western standards. Now, like I stated earlier, Western society is a new civilization. The Turks and, the Ethiopians and the Chinese and the Japanese been doing their thing for 1,000 years.
Most people live in the same house. Most people live in the same house throughout the world.
What'd you say now? Say that again.
Most people live in the same house throughout the world. They buy bigger houses and all live together. Maybe we don't know if it's harmony or not, but the lineage and understanding where your grandfathers and great-great-grands and everybody's around, that wisdom and knowledge and that, what you said, the DNA passes through them.
No. Right. Well, in America, see, you can do all that huddle up stuff, but in America, we kick ass.
Yeah, not in America.
So,
not in America. Not as much.
If you're not kicking ass, huh?
Yeah, not in America as much. Not in America as much.
Yeah,
no.
in America, it's different. I do understand that. So, like in China and Japan, they have their store on the bottom floor. Their grandparents live at the very top, and they live in the middle. And the parents in the middle, they go handle the store during the daytime. The children go upstairs to the grandparents and assist with the grandparents. And the grandparents raise them, and they get to soak up the grandparents' wisdom. Like I stated, no culture is wrong. Let's make that clear. No culture is wrong. The way you've developed your system for over 1,000 years or 500 years is beautiful for you. I come from America, and in America, we kick ass. And, and if you don't kick ass, I'm going to kick your ass. Is how it works. So that's what this is. So like you stated earlier, 18 years old, you're out of the crib. But that's not really, I wouldn't kick my sons out of the crib at 18 years old.
Yeah,
I understand there's a buffer zone.
Yeah.
Right. I understand there's a buffer zone that goes, but like I said, you can't tell if you're a good parent until your child is 30, 40.
I don't disagree with that sentiment. This is the first time I'm hearing that, to be honest with you, but I do not disagree with that sentiment. And I'm thinking about right now, my mom saying she has raised some pretty good kids.
Bro, you're on the other side of the globe. Okay, bro, let's talk about it. Yeah. You're on the other side of the globe and you're coming from America, bro. You're looking clean cut. You got your thing together. You got fans. You got a shop. You got businesses rolling, bro. Yeah. If you're doing that by 25, then it's already proven. The line is already proven that you can survive in the world on your own and do your thing. And that's what it is. In America, we let them off the chain in America. We don't do that huddle up 15, 20 people in one household. No, we don't operate like that. The money can't operate like that. It's too much conflict. It's too much, it's too much lack of character development. You're not allowed to develop your own character if you're dealing with all of these people around you all the time and you got to submit to their orders.
Let's talk about that. No, you struck a nerve right there. Let's talk about small town. No, not for me, but in general. Let's talk about small towns where you say you're not allowed to operate in character development. From my experience, this is anecdotal. When I talk about people in small towns, they often create an environment where you can't leave mentally. You can't leave us. You have to stay here and do this because this is what we want from you. And if you dare try to grow past this, who do you think you are?
You see that every day in Dubai, don't you? You see that every day in Dubai.
No, actually, it's the culture of Dubai is a little different. I actually enjoy the culture. The culture itself is not a large population. The country is made up of mostly expats, which is people who come here to work and grow in business. However, I do like some of the things they do. And being the fact that I come from a different culture, I am inclined to like my culture. But some of the things they have in place are definitely things I would add to my family. I wouldn't mind living in a house with my siblings and our families together to grow the family structure that can create a atmosphere of financial literacy, just to teach. We don't want to rely on the teachers just to teach, because that's not what teachers are supposed to. They're not supposed to raise our kids, in my opinion. So when we have that great grandfather, grandmother lineage, and now you understand a sense of pride of where you come from and the family name, and you have a creed, and you have these sayings, and you have this theme for the family, I appreciate those things. They're fleeting. I remember we used to have family reunions all the time back in the 90s. Not so much for me and my family anymore. And I used to look forward to them as a kid. And I think it gave a sense of pride of where we came from, a pride of my family being for wherever they're from. Oh, I get to see my cousins from there. And when we come together, it's a pride thing because we come together as a family. There are some families that still do that. I think there's a real legacy in pride building when it comes to that.
It's the finances. It's the family business. As a bloodline, like in the old world, they used to have, this family over here makes the oak on the trees. This family over here hunts the elephants for the ivory. And this family over here makes the pianos.
Correct.
And then we intertwine through our children, through generations, and we have finite pianos. We don't even know how to play the piano, but we make them. Yeah. You see what I'm saying?
Tribal
and you buy
stuff.
them from here. Right. You see, so that unison line is financially dependent. So if you have 4 generations, 3 generations inside of a house, but you're living in a 20-bedroom mansion, it doesn't matter. Are all the young ones that are just now brought into this family going to support and stay with the line of the family? 9 times out of 10. Why? Because of the finances, because you're balling. You're in the mansion. You have the gold chandeliers. If you do not have the gold chandeliers and you are in the mud hut, your family is going to leave. And they're going to go out abroad. Right. So it boils back down to the security line, which the security line can only be provided by the financier line. Okay. And the financier line is going to be dependent upon the unison of all. Okay. Majority the unison of the males and their understanding and working with each other more so than the women, but they have their duties and they're part of the same scenario as well. And everybody is in that situation. In America, that is an option to operate like that. You don't have to operate like that. You can and be successful, but then you got the majority of the systems out here in America is go get a job.
Right. Absolutely. We are cooking over here. We do understand that for sure. Go get a job. Like JoJo, you got to get a job.
Yeah, there's details to it, you know. Every situation isn't the same.
However,
you know what I'm saying?
Are those concepts fleeting with artificial intelligence banging on the door?
Artificial intelligence and what the internet has done overall is it just proves how much we lie to each other. You know? Yeah, it's just perfected our system of lying to each other. That's all the internet really has done. Now the AI, look at what AI is. At the same time, we developed AI to be our slave, but then we're developing it to be superior than us. You know, with its thinking capacity and its thinking speed, and within the thinking speed and capacity, humans are now trying to combat with it. And this is where you get the crash outs. This is where you get the rioting in the streets. This is where you get the serial killers and all of this random shootings and all of this stuff going on, because for the first time in human history, there is an entity on this planet that can think quicker than us. And that has never happened before throughout all of human history that we know about. Okay, and I will say that we know about. Yeah, we don't know the true technology space of ancient Sumeria or Egypt or none of those, or what was going on in Maya. We don't know the true details. The Vatican does, and the Europeans do.
What's going on in the Grand Canyon, right?
Right. Or what's good? Right. We don't know the true details of where they were at. So as of right now, so far, this AI thing is threatening towards the way we think and operate, and it would be best for us to shut it down, but we're not going to do that because there's a lot of energy or individuals on this planet that want to get rid of the human race. It's very clear that something on this planet is trying to kill us all off, you know. But yeah, go ahead.
Nah, you hit the nail on the button with our food and everything, with all this cancer and all this radiation waves flying through the air. We're part of the radiation right now, so I understand that wholeheartedly. I came up with a book called Operating at 100%, where you have 20% for each one. It's purpose, health, confidence, money, and knowledge. Again, I repeat, 20% for purpose, 20% for health, 20% for confidence, 20% for money, 20% for knowledge. Now, I want to ask you this question because this is something that I do to all my guests to see how much of life have you been operating out of 100%. So within the last 24 hours, TheGod720, how much of 100% have you been operating? Purpose means you've been living out your purpose. Health means you ate right, exercised right. Confidence means you did it with confidence. You know, you were sure. Money, you saved little money, spent little money, invested little money, and knowledge, you took in some new information. Please tell me, how much? 20% in purpose.
I did 100%. I had me a smoothie this morning, went and paid some bills, came back here, got on the line with you, you know, and then looking to conquer. You understand?
Did you exercise today?
Did
you exercise today?
Did I exercise today? Yeah, my jaw. I'm running my mouth with you. Yeah, I exercise that, you know, but no, I do exercise though. I do exercise. I didn't get to it today, but I do exercise. That's very important to keep the blood flow moving and to sweat. So I do exercise. But I'm glad you brought up the confidence thing, because a lot of males don't. It's been completely tried to like ripped out of the atmosphere that our confidence comes from conquering, you know. And there's a lot to conquer. Basically, it goes back to what you asked me earlier about setting goals and achieving them. That is one way to conquer, but then there's also other forms. And you know, your natural way is going to be with the woman, you know, because that's just nature. And they're trying to rip that whole little zone out of it. So if there's any young bucks listening, you know, go hanker, you know, because that's what you're supposed to be doing, you know, as a male of that age. Don't allow yourself to repress all that energy, and then you're 30 years old and you're over here doing weird shit. You know, we see it on the news every day. You know,
right? That testosterone guy. That's why kids run around in circles. Young boys run around in circles because they have all this testosterone. You got to let them outside and play. Just to tackle what you said about confidence, tacked on, excuse me.
Yeah, go ahead.
I know there's a time, like I can relate it to myself, where you play a sport and there's a moment where you have to activate your willpower to overcome anybody else's force. How seriously do you take a phrase like willpower? I do believe it really exists, and I do believe if you don't practice it, you can combust if you try to activate it at any given time without any type of practice.
Willpower is very important. If you don't have any willpower, you don't have any drive. You got to have, you know, man, bro, you know, it's like a comment I said on Facebook the other day. You know, man is a battery to woman, and woman is a battery to man. Therefore, you are both vampires. Play ball, okay? Because that's exactly what it is. You are vampires. Now chase each other and be in love. You know what I'm saying? And that's what it is. The beauty of a woman and the soft voice and the scent and the long hair and the batting of the eyelids and all of that is definitely the gasoline to a man's engine, you know. And when a man doesn't have that, he doesn't produce. When that full dedication, genuine love energy, and that's why we're not really producing now as a human race. We're all sitting over here behind screens. That's not really producing. You know, like creating an app is not production, like creating a Chevrolet. Okay. So to create a Chevrolet vehicle is don't even compare that with a Bitcoin. Don't do that, you know, because there's a lot of metal, a lot of welding, a lot of, you know, smelting, bruises, a lot of things that has to be. Yeah. What is that now?
Cuts and bruises and prick fingers, physical.
Right, cuts and bruises, right. Stuff falling on your feet and shit. And, you know, there's going to be a couple of lives lost. There is going to be, you know, collateral damage is what they call it.
So, so based on what you said, the reason, right? And that chivalry has died amongst women. They never think that they are the reason. Even when a man can confess, like, you are the reason, I need you to do this, right? A man can say that and his feelings go unclaimed. However, there is something where we are starting wars over women throughout history. But now it seems as, relating to the Shannon Sharps, to all these gentlemen who are falling by the wayside because a woman changed her mind after she created a pattern with a man. That's where we're at in the war right now. Seems like they're all recanting. And I'm not saying that there are ones who are not really going through something, but I don't think we do a good job of taking care of the ones who are really going through something. It's just the ones who we can find false allegations through that is more entertaining than the people who are actually going through. We're not really there for them. They have like communities for them, but we're not really there for them like we should. And they are the reason. They are. And when your man has a daughter, has a wife, has a sister, a mother, has a girl who's just a friend of his wife's, whatever. They're the reason why you stand up and protect if they're in your circle. And we're seeing it a lot because whenever I see domestic violence, I say to myself, that woman must not have any protectors, because that man would not go after that woman that way if he knew accountability was right around the corner.
Experience, intelligence, keep going.
And what happens now, that entire phrase translates over to war. When you see a country get bombed and no one comes to do anything about it, oh, now we can keep going. So domestic violence, when there is no one to protect that woman. See, we often talk about single parent homes and the boys being more emotional and stuff like that. And then we try to say, hey, we can't keep our women off the pole. But there's a further damage that's done. They are unprotected. And then some people try to stand in a place and think they can protect them, but no. And then, like you said, some people don't know they need to be protected because they've been single their whole life. So they don't know what protection looks like. They don't know what orders look like. They don't know what submissiveness to the protection looks like. If we get that back in order, whether people are happy with that situation or not, our status quo and our reason for living will definitely rise up.
Well, it's kind of funny you said it like that, because that is definitely what is going on with the spread of Islam across the planet right now. And they're trying to enforce a situation without being so abrasive in the violent space. What we have to understand about human existence, see, everybody's holding on to this European model of everything is sunflowers and roses. The planet has never been that way. Never. I love to use the phrase, you're on a planet of killers from ants to atom bombs. Okay. Now, when you let that statement boil on the front lobe for a second, from ants to atom bombs, you are on a planet of killers. Okay. So what we're looking at here when it comes to our order of male and female, there was a lot of stuff done to the women in the older years in the old world that have them in a position of understanding how to communicate and operate with their mate. African Americans, unfortunately, our system, and we're the only ones in history that has that kind of story, is sort of manipulated and adjusted and screwed over. So, yeah, I mean, I don't want to get too detailed with it, but the problems that we're dealing with today, and everybody picking up Western civilization's rules and their influence, is we have to understand that white males are operating off of a guilt trip of burning their women up for 500 years in Europe. So they think, oh, well, women should be free and do whatever they want to. And they know the results of all that activity. They're playing those games so they could just have women continuously be consumers. And they are at the top of creating the products for the consuming. But European males, white males overall, they know very well what the cause and effects and what the results are going to be with what's the word I should use, with female freedom, okay, or female choice, female decision making, basically is the way I should put it. Because when they say, oh, the man should be protecting the woman, protecting her from what? The only thing a man is protecting a woman from is from her own decision making. Yeah, we saw that with the BBL, didn't we? Where'd that go to? Why did that disappear out of nowhere? Right. Because they found out it was a bad decision. You went over there and got super glue, and fix a flat, and and rubber cement put all in your body. not understanding how the body was going to respond to it. And you got a lot of nasty situations. A lot of women died on the surgery table from these situations. And a lot of them in the DR and in the islands, and they couldn't even their families didn't even have the money to fly them back. A lot of those girls got just dumped into the ocean if they didn't make it past the surgery table. But that's pretty bold for you to go to a whole nother country where you don't even know the language to let Edward Scissorhands cut you up and put some glue in you. For
I think when I look at that value system of self-love, I think it's because we didn't see ourselves represented. They didn't see those 60s and 70s movies when the women, they didn't have BBLs, but their skin was just absolutely divine. Like who they were was enough. And we got into this sensationalization of just what beauty is supposed to be. And instead of listening to the people in your circumference telling you what beauty is. And then on the other side, we had people telling you you're not beautiful in your own circumference to keep you close to them. So even though the world was meant for you, I hope you don't get famous. That is a song by French Montana, because everybody will love you, but won't love you like I do. So I hope you don't get famous. Stay home with me. Stay home with me. That is...
Now, that right there is based upon food content. So one peach of 1964, I think it is, like a peach from the 60s. In order for you to match up the same mineral content today, you would need like 60 different peaches to add up to one from the 1960s. So the mineral content was different, which made our metabolism stronger, which we didn't have as many overdoses. You didn't see a bunch of legs and kneecaps snapping every time you watch sports and stuff because we were stronger. We were living off of Wendy's and TV dinners. You dig what I'm saying? Like we are now, and it's depleting us,
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. You are now part of the Silhouette Boys Club. It is people like you who move in the shadows to help people like we shine. Now, before you go, we would love to hear a great shout out for all the books and the things that you author and what you got going on today. 720, the floor is yours.
Okay. Yeah, I have a lot of sales going. Go to theblackmansbible.com. I have the Black Man's Bible there for sale, the Ethereal Law, Real Nigga Etiquette. And I also have you go to kickedoutofheaven.com to get the series, the 3-volume series. It has over 1,000 pictures that are in color, okay, that ultra verify all the information that's in the literature, because the literature is so outlandish that it's hard for you to accept it as historical facts, but they are, and everything is vouched for the material in the bibliography. And then last but not least, the Encyclopedia on the Alchemy of Women. Okay. This is a heavy one. This is only available on Amazon. It's about $400 for each volume. It's a 2-volume series. Okay. So you could just Google my names, Keenan Booker or TheGod720, and everything will show up. You can also go on all streaming platforms. I have my music. I have over 12 albums on my platforms, and this is real music. This isn't I want to be with the up-to-date nonsense. I make real music. You will hear angels singing and cellos, and you will hear French horns and all types of stuff. I am the Beethoven of rap is what they call me. You dig what I'm saying? So, yeah, check that out and go to those websites. So that's TheGod720.com, theblackmansbible.com, and kickedoutofheaven.com. Okay?
Thank you, sir, so much. Before you go, please give us someone you want to come on the show and answer these questions, a referral of someone you know that you can say right now, hey, I'm shouting him out. I want him on the show.
Well, Illa, I definitely want to give a shout out to Illa for making this happen. I want to give a shout out to you. I definitely appreciate it, standing from Dubai. Oh, yeah, and I do deal art. So me and you probably need to talk on the outside because I deal art, and I'm talking about like blue chip artists, like, $1 million painting level.
Hey, listen, we locked in. We locked in now, so definitely we all family now. Shout out to Illa for sure. We will contact on that.
And I really don't got no other shout outs to make. You saw what happened with the conscious community. They just embarrassed us, bro. But shouts out to all the beautiful women listening right now. Shouts out to all the young men that are coming up in the game. I thank you for listening. So shout out to your audience, who is phenomenal for being
shout
here.
out to the emotional, intelligent people who love to thrive and have some great information tacked upon their brains so they can go out and think and be growing some more. For those listening, you can reach me at SOULutionsForMen@gmail.com to be a guest on the show, or at Sheem1 on all platforms. Let's have this discussion on fan base. We're going to start opening up some rooms and having some great conversations. Let's roll over the fan base. Before we go, we like to end this quote from Dr. Miles Monroe. True success is not measured by how much you have done or accomplished. It's not compared to what others have done or accomplished. True success is what you have done compared to what you could have done. In other words, living to the maximum is competing with yourself. It's living to your own true standards and capabilities. Success is satisfying your own personal passion and purpose in pursuit of personal excellence. So, question of the day, question of your life. Are you maximizing your life? To the God720, thank you very much. I'm Sheem1. This is SOULutions For Men podcast. Peace and blessings.